Okay, right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Toby Easter. I'm principal here at Vale of York. Just a little bit of housekeeping. It depends upon which device you have or which device you're using. But if you're using a laptop like me, at the bottom of your screen, there is a chat facility. We're going to talk to you probably for about 25, 30 minutes this evening. And if during that time there is a question that you want to ask, you can use the chat facility to actually record it, and then we'll come to the questions at the end. If you have a laptop or a mobile device, I'm afraid I can't tell you exactly where they are on the screen. I'm just checking everyone's on mute again.
Are you recording this, Mr. Easter?
Yeah. Right, okay, so I think I'll start then. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you. You should just bear with me. Okay, Mr. Orr, I can see you. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see that screen? Right, lovely, okay. Right, so as I said, as well as introducing myself, there's three other members of staff here this evening. There's Mr. Wilson, who'll be the progress leader for Year 7. Mr. Orr, who's the Associate Assistant Principal for Community. And Mr. Kumar, who's the Assistant Principal who oversees student welfare. So between the four of us this evening, in the next 25, 30 minutes, we're going to try to provide you with the kind of information that we thought you would want to hear or want to know prior to September. And I suppose also share with you the information that if we'd had a normal transition evening, then this is the kind of stuff that would have been in it. So it's me first. Just before I talk about the year ahead, I just want to mention this year really and reflect upon this year, because shortly after Year 6 parents made their choice of secondary school in the autumn, shortly after that we were inspected by Ofsted, and we were judged to be good. And that was the first time that the school had been judged to be good. Oh, hang on, someone's, bear with me. Okay, I think we're all on mute again. Thank you for that. Where was I? Yeah, I was talking about Ofsted. So we were judged to be good by Ofsted for the first time. As many of you will know, 4 years ago, the school's in a very different place. 2 years ago, it became an academy. So to be judged good at the first attempt was a really significant moment for all of us here at Vale. I was delighted for the staff, particularly those who've given good time to the school. I was delighted for the children who come to the school who knew they were attending a good one. And most of all, actually, for the parents and the community, for the parents who have supported the school by making it their school of preference, but also have seen the journey that the school has undertaken over recent years. So it was a really positive moment for the academy, as would have been this summer, because all the data was telling us that our results would have been the strongest that they have been than they have been yet. But as we know, COVID arrived, lockdown began, and so we've not been able to enjoy the success that we thought we would have this summer, or rather we thought the students would have this summer. But nonetheless, we're here now. And suffice to say that the school is in a good place and it's moving in the right direction. So, me first. So what I'm going to talk about are these 5 things here, focusing particularly on the first four. So this is really for students and parents. So first of all, we received probably what will be the final guidance from the government last Thursday. We've been obviously planning in detail for what September is going to look like. But in the light of that guidance, we have a degree of clarity about what school will look like in September. So if I start with the curriculum, suffice to say, the curriculum is not going to be that dissimilar to a curriculum that a child would have received this time last year in Year 7. We are in a position to deliver a full timetable. The timetable that we constructed in May is the one that we're going to use. That provides the full breadth of subjects, the core, the EBAC subjects, history, geography, science, French, and the other practical subjects. we'll be able to deliver them 25 hours a week, 5 hours a day, in a way that you would imagine. We are going to have to make some adjustments, for example, under the current guidance, in terms of music, you can't sing. In terms of blowing a musical instrument, you can't do it. We're going to need to think about certain subjects, practical subjects like art. Not going to be able to use any wet stuff to begin with. But we're pretty confident that we can deliver PE in the way it should be and make adjustments to those practical subjects to begin with. So the curriculum is going to look similar to what it would have looked like pre-COVID. How the students would be grouped. So we have not had, as you know, the Year 6 students haven't taken SATs this year. So what we have done is we have grouped the students according to the information that we have. Essentially, that information is teacher assessment information from the primary schools. And what the schools have provided us with is that information to indicate whether a child is working towards, meeting or exceeding expectations for their age. We've taken that information and we will group students accordingly. So how do we group? In maths, we set. So that's grouped by ability. In what we will call the EBAC subjects, science, history, geography, and MFL, they will be grouped broadly by ability. But essentially, for all the other subjects, there will be mixed ability. Okay, so that's very similar to what we would have done this time last year. What we will do, though, in the absence of any formal SAT testing, we will be, all the students in the 3rd week in September will undertake a baseline assessment, and that will be in English and maths. We're also asking years 8 and 9 to do those baseline assessments because we want to see what they've learned over the last 4 months and where there are any gaps in their learning and their knowledge. So we will do those assessments and we will use those assessments to review and to refine any groupings in Year 7. Any changes that we make we'll do by Christmas, and then we'll run the timetable through to the end of the academic year. So similar to the curriculum, the students will be grouped in a similar way to the way they have been done previously. Where there are a few changes are in terms of where they'll be based. So some of you will be familiar with bubbles. You'll be familiar with bubbles in primary schools. To begin with, that was 15 students in a group, and that was expanded to 30. So if you imagine in a primary school setting, a class of 30 acts as a bubble and can operate as a bubble because you've got one teacher for most of the day. In a secondary school setting, what we will be doing is we'll be forming 3 bubbles. We're a small school, so we can use year-sized groupings. So for our school, it's quite easy for us to have one bubble, which will be Year 7, one bubble that will be Years 8 and 9, and one that will be 10 and 11. And what we will do is we will zone those bubbles. Lots of jargon there, zones and bubbles. So if I speak specifically about Year 7, Year 7 will operate as a bubble, and they will be based in what we call the 1940s block, the oldest part of the school, which is where the main hall is. There's plenty of space there. We've got some very good sized classrooms there. And so the children in Year 7 will spend their day being taught in that part of the school. What they won't do is be in one room all the time, because as I've explained, we group students in different ways according to the subjects. So it may well be that your child will be taught in, say, 2 or 3 of those classrooms in that whole area. They might spend in any one day, they might spend 2 or 3 lessons in one room, but there will be some movement within the bubble. Where Year 7 are there, we'll have Year 8 on the ground floor in science, we'll have Year 9 on the top floor of the school, we'll have Year 10 in maths area, and Year 11 will be along the English corridor. And then students will be able to break out of their bubbles in groups to visit practical areas like PE, like food technology. But that will be very limited to start with. That will be very limited, at least for the first month, so that we see how things go, and we will have to be looking at the GCSE students accessing those areas first to begin with. So that's where Year 7 will be located. In terms of breaks and lunch times, The school day will change in that students will come into school and start lesson 1. They won't be form tutor period to begin with. They'll come straight into school and they will start period 1. They'll have period 1 and period 2. And then we'll split the break. So years 7, 8 and 9 will have break first. Year 7 will have break in their zone. So we'll have a servery in the main hall and we'll have an outdoor space in the courtyard, which is solely for year 7, which is what we do now actually. It's no different to what we do already. Years 8 and 9 will have the dining hall and the space behind the dining hall. Then after 20 minutes, years 7, 8 and 9 will go back to their tutor periods and year 10 and 11 will break. They've already had their tutor period. They will go to break in the dining hall and again use the space behind the back of the school. Then we have period 3, then period 4 straddles an hour and a half. So years 8 and 9 will go to dinner first, then years 7 will have dinner on their own, and years 10 and 11 will have dinner after them. So we'll have 3 sittings, 3 30-minute sittings. That takes us to period 5, which ends at 3 o'clock. So that is a different arrangement to the one that we currently have, but actually I think it works very well. It works very well for the year 7s because we want to give them as much space as we can during this first year of secondary school. Now, Mr. Raw is going to talk a little bit about the arrangements for the first day back. When your child comes into school, so on the first Monday in September, there's no school for students. That's a training day for staff. The Tuesday is for year 7 only, and then on the Wednesday, all the students come back in. So on the Tuesday, your child should come in the normal area, Water Lane, Rawcliffe Drive, into the courtyard area. And then we'll move into their induction day. From the next day onwards, from Wednesday onwards, the year 7 students will be asked to access the school actually behind the kitchens. There's a gate there. What we're going to do is we're going to have each year group actually accessing the school through a different entrance. So immediately they arrive in the school building, they move into their zones and they move into their bubbles. But I'll let Mr. Raw talk about that day a little bit more in a moment. And finally, I just want to mention extracurricular activities and the year 7 residential. So for the last few years, we've run a very successful residential trip that normally is in September. We've had to postpone that. We've not cancelled it. We've postponed it to the summer term. So fingers crossed, year 7 will have their residential in the summer term. In terms of after school clubs, extracurricular activities, certainly for the first month, we won't be operating those. The one thing we are planning to offer is a homework club in the library. We think we can do that. But in terms of other activities, for the time being, at the start, we're going to just have to hold on that because what we need to do is we need to keep it safe and we need to keep it simple and see how we get on. So there's an overview. There's a summary of what we are planning to do in September. Like I say, there is the chat facility. If you have any questions, please do ask them and we'll come to them once we've completed our presentation. So now I'm going to hand over to Mr. Wilson. Are you there, Mr. Wilson?
I am there, Mr. Eastow.
Right.
Hello there. My name is Mr. Wilson. I will be your head of year, progress leader for year 7. It's really nice to see so many of you tonight, and I really do look forward to meeting you in September. Part of my role is to make sure you're okay and supporting you in kind of the following areas. I won't be as long as the other ones have been. So pastoral academic support. So my role and the role of the tutors who will be looking after you is to make sure that you're okay, that you're in school on time, that we've made sure you've got the right equipment, that you're in full uniform, you've got the planner checked, essentially that you're organised and ready for the day ahead. And if we get these really good learning habits in place, you'll be really successful with us. Okay. One of the roles is I am also the point of contact for parents. So if there are any concerns, any issues, anything you'd like to know or unsure about, by all means, please contact me. Again, likewise, if there's an event going on in the family or we have some children in the school very successful and take part in sports in other countries and represent the country, we love to know stuff like that, and we do support as much as we can with that where we can. Okay. I also oversee tutor activities. So in your tutor groups, there'll be things like a week quiz, there'll be a news round experience, there'll be planner checks, there'll be an assembly, be virtual to start with. And again, so tutor time is a really good port of call for things to kind of set yourself up for the week and be organised per day as we go. And again, I also pop by tutor groups daily, and it's a good opportunity, if you're not sure about something, to pull me to one side, ask a quick question, and I'll see what I can do to support or find out the answer for you for a later time to do that with. Okay. We also want to monitor your attendance. We really aim our students to be 100%. If you're in all the time, it means you miss no lessons, and you will be really successful with the subjects that you look at taking and that we have in our delivery at the Academy. And again, we also need expectations as a head of year and your tutors. We're really proud of the students that we have here, and it's making sure that your uniform is correct, it's put on the right way, that your plan has been checked, signed, and again, we co-sign them as well. We're looking at how your organisation is, and again, steering in the right direction, making sure you understand how your timetable is, making sure you know what places are. Really, it's to make you confident when you're here and how you get around through the school day. Okay. We also do rewards, and one of the big part of that is if you cover all the areas we've just discussed, you accumulate house points. I know Mr. Kumar is going to talk about that in a little while. It's been really nice to speak to you, and I really look forward to seeing you in September. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Good evening, Mr. Orr.
Good evening, Mr. Eastoe. Thank you very much. So, yeah, my name's Mr. Orr, and I'm in charge of community transition, and I'm also a PE teacher here at Vale of York. We were gutted we weren't able to put on a transition day at the start of July, so we're going to recreate that on your first day, which is Tuesday the 8th of September. As has been mentioned, the day starts at 8:45, but with it being your first day and you're bound to be a little bit nervous, I would suggest that you maybe come a little bit early. There'll be plenty of our staff around the site to point you in the right direction. Maybe get a few mates together and all come together just to settle those nerves a little bit. Make sure you're in your full school uniform, and you'll also need to bring pen, pencil, ruler, and scientific calculator. On your first day, on that Tuesday, it'd be really helpful if you could bring a packed lunch. If you're eligible for free school meals, of course, we will provide a meal for you at lunchtime. But for everybody else, if you could bring a packed lunch, it just helps with the running of the day. You'll also require some trainers, and I'll explain why in a second, and a bottle of water. Water keeps you hydrated, hydration keeps you high in energy and keeps you concentrated. Next slide, please, sir. Thank you. So as I mentioned, we're going to run the day as if it was your transition day in July. At 8:45, the first bell will go and you'll line up and meet your form tutor, who will then take you to your form room. At 8:50, you're going to receive a virtual assembly from Mr. Eastoe and Mr. Wilson, who've already spoken to you, officially welcoming you as Vale of York Academy students, which is very exciting. At 9:15, you're going to do some fun games with your form tutor. This is a chance for you to get to know each other, get to know other people in your class, and also a chance for your tutor to learn your names, learn a bit about your personality. It's a nice way to settle into the school. At 10 o'clock, we're going to do a treasure hunt around the school. Quite often people are a little bit nervous about potentially getting lost when they join a new school. And this is a chance for us to really explore Vale of York Academy. You'll be given a map, lots of clues, you'll be in teams, and there's also prizes, but really it's a good opportunity for you to start to get to know your way around. There'll be a break at 11 o'clock, and then after break, we're going to do some interactive learning sessions. Now these are lessons, but I've asked our teachers, 5 brilliant teachers, to put on a fun, engaging session for you. These include an Olympic Games, a pirate competition, building earthquake-proof buildings, running a business, and also some science experiments. So there should be something for everybody there. At lunchtime, 12:15, normally it'd be half an hour, but we're going to extend it to 45 minutes. With it being your first time doing it, just gives you a little bit of chance to settle in. Once you finish your lunch, you can either go and relax in the courtyard, or if you fancy it, I can open the AstroTurf and we can go for a kickabout. The afternoon is all about competition between the different form groups. At 1 o'clock, we're running a quiz where the more points you get, they go towards the form classes total. And at 1:45, we're going to do a sports competition, which is going to be kick rounders on the AstroTurf. Again, the more points you score, the more your form gets. We'll add that to the quiz score, and we'll have a winning form for the day who will win a prize for their form class. 2:45, it's time to go home and look forward to day 2. Day 2 is a little bit more administrative, where you'll be learning how to use your planner, learn how to use Google Classroom, how to record your homework. But I know Mr. Kumar is going to say a little bit more about that in a second. From myself, it's been great to be able to talk to you, and I look forward to seeing you all in September. Have a great summer.
Great, thank you, Mr. Raw. Good evening, Mr. Kumar.
Yep, good evening, everyone. Yep, so my name is Mr. Kumar. I'm the Assistant Vice Principal for Student Welfare. So that essentially means that my main remit in school is having an overview of the pastoral elements of school. And I'll be working very closely with Mr. Wilson and the Year 7 tutor team to ensure that all the students in Year 7 and across the school as well feel happy and safe at all times. I'd just like to start off by making reference to an area of our school site if you haven't already accessed this, and it's the Parent and Carers section. And in there is a drop-down tab, and it's named Joining Our School from Year 6. Now, in there are two really key resources. The first is the transition guide, and the second is Mr. Orr's welcome video. Both are really comprehensive, really useful, and cover all things regarding transition from Year 6 into Year 7 at the Vale of York Academy. So if you haven't already, please do make sure that you do access those. So I'm just going to talk through 4 areas of transition that normally come up on these type of evenings if we were in school. And if you have any questions around those, please do use the chat facility, and I'll answer at the end if I haven't fully explained anything. So firstly, uniform. Our uniform supplier is Kiel Teamwear, and that's located in Warmgate in the city centre. Now they are back open for business, but they're working slightly differently, and they are using a click and collect service, and that's twofold. Firstly, you can give them a call and you can arrange collection of uniform by the phone, and that'll be a time and date convenient to yourself. And secondly would be online. You can do exactly the same thing online. Those families who currently receive free school meals, you are eligible for a contribution towards purchasing uniform. So please do email the transition email address, which is at the end of this presentation, to request more details if that applies to you. Next, behaviour and rewards. Now, at the Vale of York, we operate a positive discipline policy. And that's very much as it sounds. We look to reward and positively reinforce good behaviour and attitude around school at all times. So just to give you an example, last year we gave out over 6,000 stamps to our students across all year groups. And those stamps can win prizes, literally. So they carry a monetary value. So as we progress through the year, students can cash in their stamps for prizes such as chocolate bars and shopping vouchers. And when you get to year 11, you can even cash those in for discounts on the prom ticket and hoodies as well. Now, the stamps go into the student planner, and the student planner, if we could please ask, there is an expectation that parents and carers will check and sign that once a week. The planner is the main vehicle for homeschool communication, so it's not just about monitoring stamps, it's also about whether or not some staff have tried to get in contact with you through the notes section in the planner, so please do make sure that takes place. Then on to parent pay. Parent pay is the way in which we operate a cashless community, and over the next week or so you will receive a letter, and on that letter you'll have a unique code for your son or daughter. I'm aware, having met quite a few of you even this evening actually for tours this week, that a lot of the primary schools do use parent pay, but it's a way in which you can pay for your school dinners, but we also use it for educational visits as well. So please do make sure that when you get that letter, you do make that account for the Vale of York Academy. That'd be great. And then finally, just to finish off, the timetable. I know lots of you, I can't wait to find out what tutor group you're in. And as part of the admission process, that admission pack, you will have listed up to 5 students who you will have liked to have been with in your tutor group. And I'm really happy to say that I've been able to make sure that you're with at least one of those people. Now, you'll receive your timetable with the parent pay letter in the next week, and that'll also have your lessons on there and the teachers that will be teaching you. So I'm sure you'll be really excited about receiving that in the coming week. So just a final note to say, I'm really looking forward to working with you as a school community over the next 5 years, and I hope you have a really good summer. Back to Mr. Eastaugh. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Mr. Kumar. So just to remind you of our transition email address, which is the email address specifically for Year 6 families. Please use it if you need to. Also, we have the our main reception telephone number there as well. Okay, so we're in school, we're open during working hours. So if there's anything you need to contact us about between now and the end of this term, please do. Now I'm going to stop sharing now. And what I can see is there's one. Oh, that's from Mr. Wilson. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. This is an opportunity now for you to, if you want to ask questions using the chat facility. If you If you don't want to do that, that's absolutely fine. If you want to wait until the end, if there's any questions that you have specific to your child, we're going to hold on at the end, but I'll just give it a couple of moments to see if anybody's got any questions they want to ask through that facility. Tumbleweed moment. Oh, here we go. Okay. Thank you for that question. Would you recommend purchasing a home laptop to help with homework at home? If you can, I would. I'll be quite honest with you, but obviously everybody's personal circumstances are different. But knowing that the children have had to work remotely for 4 months, knowing that there is the possibility of a second peak, a second wave that might result in a local lockdown, and knowing how much we've learned as a school about what children can do remotely online for their learning, I would recommend that. It's obviously down to each family, but it's certainly not going to do any harm. So I suppose my short answer is yes, if you can. Right, there's a question here. Can the children bring mobile phones to school? Mr. Kumar, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, so this day and age, we do expect students to have a mobile phone, but there is an expectation when they come onto the school site that they are turned off and they're put away. That they're for certain circumstances, we have to request if there's any pictures to go out on any kind of social media for students. So it's really important that students don't come in and use their phones and for TikTok and all the social media that they use out of school. So yes, they will have a mobile phone, I'm aware of that, but it needs to be turned off and in their bag. The behaviour policy, if a student's seen using their phone, then that will be confiscated for the day and they'll be asked to collect that from reception at the end of the school day. And then if that happens up to 3 times, then the parent is asked to come and collect that in. So no, yes, mobile phones are allowed on the school site, but they're not allowed to be used in any way, shape or form. If you need to make contact home, then all you do is go to reception and then we can make that phone call for you.
Thanks, Mr. Kumar. Right, next question. What happens if someone in the year bubble gets COVID? Good question. Right, so if we rewind that question slightly, if someone they will know whether they've got COVID because they'd have had a test. To have a test, they would have had to have shown symptoms. So if I start with the showing symptoms. So if a child in school shows symptoms of COVID, then we would remove that child from the bubble. We would put them into the first aid room, the designated room for COVID. We call it the COVID first aid room. We would contact the family and we would ask the family to come and collect that child. We can't make you get a test, but we would obviously make it very clear that we think you should get a test for your child. You would take your child to get tested. My understanding is that the tests turn around in 24 hours, but don't quote me on that. I don't work for the government. I don't work for the Public Health Authority anyway. So your child would need to be tested, and then you would need to notify us as to whether your child has COVID, has coronavirus. At that point, whilst that's going on, I contact the Public Health Authority and they provide me with advice. What I would say to you is that it will take, under the current guidance, it will take more than one case for there to be any kind of closing down of bubbles or closing down of year groups. I wouldn't want to say any more detail than that in case the guidance changes by September. But obviously, if there are a number of cases, in the community, the number of cases in the area, then the local authority in the city would be looking at what measures they need to take place, and the school would fit in with those measures. So I hope, Mr. Stone, that answers your question. Right, how do you handle issues with bullying? Mr. Kumar, I'm going to hand that to you.
Yeah, sure. So as a school, we have a really robust anti-bullying policy. We have an anti-bullying week to raise awareness of how we would handle bullying within school. But as in a standalone week, it's something that every student in school and staff are aware that if there is an issue, it will be reported to the pastoral team and we will pick it up there and then. I'm very confident in our pastoral structures in school. So as long as it's reported in, we'll deal with it straight away. And that's very much about students, and if there's a bystander, if someone sees something they're not happy about, just reporting that in straight away and we'll deal with it.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. Any more questions? Okay, thank you for those questions. Can I suggest then, if there are no more questions for all of us, if you want to dial out, thank you very much for joining this meeting this evening. I hope it's been of use for you. If you want to hang on because you have specific questions, then please stay. Otherwise, let's call the formal part of this meeting to an end. Thank you for joining us. I hope you have a great summer. And if you want to hang on, please do.